Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Semi-Controlled Chaos. And today we're going to be looking at the ultimate $50 gaming PC. Yes, I know that title sounds a bit gaudy, presumptuous, etc. But I have proof to back it up. I have scoured YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere I could think of. And I have yet to find a computer that can match this spec per spec for the amount of money that was put into it. I found a few that are close. In fact, I'll be linking them down below because they deserve some love, because this was hard. It really was, I'm not going to lie. But it didn't start off that way. So, tell me if this sounds familiar. You go off to college. Your family gives you a laptop or something, or in my case, I bought a laptop for $500. That seems ludicrous to me now, but it is what it is. I knew nothing about computers back then. In fact, oh, it's not in here at the moment. I'll go get it in between cuts. This whole thing started off between, let's see, my laptop, it lasted me from 2015 until 2018, so it lasted me 3 years. I did get some use out of the laptop, but towards the end of its life, I actually started the YouTube channel on it. So those earliest videos I recorded, edited, and even like the games I played were on that laptop if you want to see sort of what the performance was. But about the time it died, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no computer, I didn't have a whole lot of money, and at that time I knew nothing about computers anyway, so it was looking at another $500 bill just to get a computer. And I knew I wanted a tower, because the laptop, you couldn't fix it, you couldn't do anything with it, it was just a pain in the neck. But just by circumstance, I came across a Craigslist post. Some lady had posted 4 or 5 computers for free, just giving them away. There was this, a Pentium 4 machine, an AM1 machine, another one was like slim computer AM4 machines, and I think maybe a Core 2 Duo unit. I can't recall everything at the moment. But this was the cream of the crop. It came with 8 gigabytes of DDR3 at 1066 megahertz and a Q9650, the best quad-core CPU from the Core 2 Quad era that I know of that's not a Xeon. It's the only one that's clocked at 3 gigahertz just flat. So already we're off to a good start. And it was free. So I just took the laptop drive that I essentially got for free, because I just took that out of my old laptop. So I considered it as basically a freebie. It was a Western Digital 500 gigabyte hard drive. In fact, I'll just go ahead and go get it now, and we'll do a quick jump cut.
10 years later.
Okay, so I went and got it. Here it is. I know it's a little bit zoomed out at the moment, but I'm just trying to get everything in frame. We'll zoom in on the components, and I'll tell you what's what other than what I've already told you, and the prices I paid for it. But this little hard drive, I mean, it's a 500 gigabyte hard drive. It's a little slower than normal, but if it's what you got, it's what you got. That's just it at the end of the day. Now, people will tell you that you can't do anything with a computer that's this price range. People will tell you, oh, you know, just buy new. Just buy, like, the newest, greatest thing. Well, not everyone can do that, is the problem. Like, I've seen so many tech reviewers where they're like, oh yeah, this $1,000 computer, it's like great. And it is. But I've put together like a $350 gaming computer that performs almost as well for a third the price, roughly. So it's kind of a give and take here. Yeah, you miss some features and whatnot, but I mean, that's just kind of what you give up if you're desperate or you just don't have the money. So when this started off, I'm getting a bit sidetracked. I plugged in this hard drive. Actually, no. It came with 2 hard drives and those hard drives died, and I plugged this in and that was what happened. So I plugged this hard drive in. I have a little local thrift store I go to. I managed to get a Cooler Master case, I believe it's what it is. A broken LGA775 motherboard, a Q6600, which we'll see again later. It's in another build laying around here. In fact, it's the best, like, tinned or been. It's the best performing Core 2 quad, like Q6600 I've ever seen. I don't know what's up with it, but it's like amazing, like not overclocked. Let's see. And I got a 8800 GT for $10. So I took the 8800 GT, put it in this, got a Molex, a 6-pin. Yeah, I know it's bad, but it's what I had. And it worked for quite a while, actually. That's the computer that this is the computer that just kind of sparked me wanting to learn computers. So later on, I got a bit more money, and I upgraded it. And you'd be surprised the performance you can get out of a computer like this. Like the graphics card that's in here, this DX12, and if I wanted to, I could upgrade this computer to 16 gigabytes of DDR3. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would say 12 is about as much as you want to throw at something like this, but you can do it. So I will eventually, more than likely, end up doing it anyway in the future just to see what happens. But this is more or less like a 2nd gen i3. So if you want to pair something like that together with 16 gigabytes of RAM and see what happens, by all means. But I've talked about my experience with this computer enough. Let's zoom in and look at the hardware, shall we? Okay. Sorry about that. I know I was being further away from the mic. I thought I was speaking loud enough, but I didn't want to yell. But apparently I was still just a tad low. I'll see if I can turn that up when I'm editing this video. But here's the hard drive that I was talking about from the old laptop. It's just a Western Digital 500 gigabytes, 5400 RPM. I doubt you'll be able to read that because it's so tiny in the blur from the lights. But this is the hard drive for my 2nd laptop I ever owned. It had like, I can't remember if I've said it or not, but it had like a 2nd gen i3. I think it was like a 2100 or a 2130. Intel integrated graphics, all that. So if you want to see what kind of performance that looks like, again, just go and check out the very first videos on the channel that was all done with that laptop. But moving back to this one, I got the case for free, the CPU and RAM for free, this hard drive, in my eyes, for free. I'd be a bit contesting about that, but I mean, I pulled it out of a dead laptop that I already gotten 3 years out of, so I don't know, I'm considering it a freebie. I paid $40 for this video card. It is a HD 7850 2 gigabyte, fully DirectX 12 compatible, and I believe roughly equivalent to a 750 Ti, which is a 750 Ti is roughly the strongest thing you want to pair with a Core 2 quad system. Anything stronger than that will bottleneck it, but a Q6600 can push all the way up to a 750 Ti. Most people seem to think they're only good with like old DX12 cards, which really isn't the case. So I had to do a bit of modification. I'm not going to tilt it and show you because it took me forever to get this shot semi the way I wanted. But we had to trim away the plastic casing here, cut off a piece of the aluminum heatsink, I had to drill out the back here. It's still a bit janky. If you're not careful, you could probably nick yourself back there, but this was one of my earliest projects. I was probably right back here at the Dremel. But it was one of my earliest projects, so it was a bit rough. I would do a better job now, but this was literally I need a computer like tonight, so let's just hack this thing out and call it a night. And it's been that way ever since. And the only other thing I spent money on was this power supply. It came with a crappy 305 watt power supply. And it didn't have any 6-pin adapters, or it only had like 2 SATA, so it was like, okay, this needs to be upgraded. So I found this one on Craigslist for like $10. It worried me because according to, I think it's Cooler Master's power supply calculator, this system should be pulling at about 345 watts. So that does worry me, but this is a genuine. I think this is a Cooler Master power supply, so it's good. I know it is. I used this computer for nearly a year, and then I lent it to a friend of mine. He was on the channel before, Seiji Berra, and he used it for 6 months to a year. I can't remember exactly how long he was here, but he used it for quite a while. No issues, no hiccups, no shorts, nothing. So I know this power supply is good enough for this. But I would like to upgrade it in the future, as well as getting a SSD. That would be a nice little something to chuck in here. But at the moment, I only have $50 in this box. People will tell you can't get like performance for that much, and I've said that before, but it irritates me, and I'm here to prove it wrong. Because if you pinch your pennies, watch your posts, it's going to take a while. It's going to be a pain. This is not an instant gratification. But once you have it done, this will be the end result, and it will not be the best thing you could have. But it will be very adequate. It will get you through what you need to do. You can play. I would throw any game at this system. Like, honestly, any game. Give me Crisis, which I don't own, otherwise I would have tested that, but I don't own it. I would throw Crisis, I do have Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I threw that at this on one of the benchmarks. Just any hard-hitting game, throw it at this computer. Now, apparently games like Apex Legends, the processor itself doesn't have the timings to play it, so I don't know how you're going to do that. Maybe there's like a workaround for it, but that's literally the only game I've ever heard of. I'm sure there's more, but it's the only one I've ever heard of to where you couldn't play it just because the processor is too old. Usually it's a case of the processor doesn't have enough cores or isn't fast enough, or etc., etc. I've never heard of a game where it's like, oh, your architecture literally just won't work. So that's a new one for me. So, also, for anyone says, I had this little fan right here. I don't know if you can see it all that well. I just had it laying around. I zip tied it to the, or actually, no, I screwed it to the back, plugged it in with a little adapter, just to give it some exhaust, but I just got that as another freebie. So, without further ado, let's get on to the benchmarks. And I'll stop talking and just show you the performance you can get out of a box like this if you really put some time and love into it. So there you have it. The benchmarks conclusively show you can get better performance than I would say 80% of people on the internet would think. Now, is this the best solution? Honestly, for this case, I would say no. There is one other way I would go about doing it, but I'm going to be showing that in the next video, because I'm going to be going through probably a trilogy of videos about this. We're starting off with the ultimate $50 gaming PC. The next up is the $100 gaming PC, codename Frankenstein. This one's codename is Old Reliable, by the by. And the third video will be my personal rig, which is codename Workhorse, because it's the daily driver. Now, getting back to this one, before I go off on a tangent, it's not it's not the instant gratification system a lot of people want. You have to put some work into this. Like, I had to Dremel everything out and cut the heatsink, like I said. The CMOS battery was kind of falling out, so I had to hot glue it in. I would zoom in, but like I said, the shot was kind of more of a pain to set up than I thought it'd be. But the point is, you can, with a bit of time, patience, and like love put into the system, you can make something that's worth your time and money. Oh, and I know something. This hard drive down here, it's hooked up so as I can, like, this is my tester drive. This is like if I have a new system, I just throw this in it to test it. All the benchmarks came off of this hard drive. This one's just in here so as I can just have a tiny portable drive laying around that I know is reliable. So before, if anyone throws that up in the comments, it was that hard drive, not this one that was used for testing. Which is, it's whatever. I think this one's 72 and this one's 54, but that shouldn't make a terrible amount of difference. At least not in my experience, it doesn't. There's like a few frames here and there, it's not a big deal. So, conclusion time. Not the ultimate gaming computer, but bar none, not the worst either. So, thank you all so much for coming along in this video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Thank you all again, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.